For many years, fish has been the commonest source of proteins for many households in the Lake Victoria Basin in East Africa, providing high-value proteins and essential micronutrients, minerals and fatty acids. As the world population increases, food consumption also increases, and per capita fish consumption has been increasing from an average of 9.9 kilograms in the 1960s to 16.4 kilograms in 2005. Although the per capita fish consumption in low-income food deficit countries is only half that of industrialized countries, the contribution of fish to total animal protein intake is significant at about 20%. This delicacy may not be very common on many meal tables today due to the decline in fish catch, increase in number of consumers, including the domestic market and export market. The fisheries sector is a source of employment and income for more than 43 million fishers around the world. The role of fishery trade is vital for East Africa because it represents a significant source of foreign exchange and a key employer and a source of food for many households. The fishery sector and the right to food therefore have a direct connect, where communities depend on aquatic resources to meet their food and nutritional needs. Here at Lake Victoria's double landing site in Kampala, it's an auction time for fish, with tilapia dominating the stock. Fishmongers eagerly await fishermen arriving from the lake and the islands. Currently, there are three dominant fish varieties: the Nile perch, commonly known as mputa or sato, the tilapia, known as ngege, and Rasterinebola argenta, known as daga or omena, or if you may like, mukene, whose unregulated exploitation threatens the livelihood of people within the lake basin and major economic activity in the lake region. The decline in fish quantity and quality in Lake Victoria has been blamed on unlicensing fishing techniques and fishermen who fish immature fish using undersized fishing nets. The Vice Chairman of Gaba Beach Management Committee says they work hand in hand with the police and the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
This Gaba landing site, we are a committee of 9 people. It is called Beach Management Committee. These are committees that govern this landing site. They are not only in Uganda, but they are regional-wide in the whole of East Africa. Our main job we do, first of all, we curb illegal fishers. We go and make operations inland and in the lake. We operate alongside with the police personnel. We get those fishermen who practice illegal fishing and the illegal fishing gears. We get them. After getting them, we take them to courts of law, and the proceedings of the courts, actually we do follow them. And the other thing, those illegal gears they use, we ban them. We set them on fire, we ban them. And the other thing we do, we inspect fish. We have to make sure that the fish is inspected and it is good for consumption. We collect data on fish. The data we do, we forward it to the DFR, the Department of Fisheries Department. Like every boat that comes here, we got that boat, we ask them how many bundles they brought, and we estimate the kilograms they brought in every boat. And the other thing we do is that we make sure that every boat that comes here is in good condition, and even the fishers.
The Lake Victoria Fisheries Research Project states that Lake Victoria had at least 200 fish species, but since the introduction of the Nile perch in the 1950s, the lake's multi-species composition has reduced to a dominance of 3 species. Many endemic fish species have become distinct in Lake Victoria, yet fish farming caters for few fish species, majorly those in the carp, mud and lungfish family. Rastridobola argentea, daga or omena, is steadily becoming a common fish for human consumption, unlike the earlier thought that it was primarily for poultry feeding. Due to increased demand for fish for export, domestic consumption of fish is no longer a priority. Umar Agaba, a fish processor and exporter, indicates that handling of fish right from the lake determines its quality and therefore its use.
We add value to Mokene fish. Initially, Mokene used to be thought of being low quality fish or maybe food for the poor. But recently, market trends have dictated that it is also fished and maybe processed and added value to own. So we process Mokene, sell in the domestic market and now export. So Mokene has been, and the industry first has been plagued by adulteration, low quality, poor handling. But now with efforts from the government has tried to uplift, maybe even with the help of donors, to have Mokene dried off the ground. Standards have been made by UNBS. Maybe enforcement is one that is being awaited, so that nobody continues to put the Mokene on the ground, so that we continue improving the quality and having, because the Mokene we export outside the country brings a lot of money to the government. And then when you have processed it, you have created jobs. But when you just export it and maybe take it raw, you are taking jobs elsewhere. So that's what our company primarily does. We also sometimes deal in tilapia, add value on it also, take it to where we take the Mokene. So we are based on Lake Victoria and Lake Alba.
For the fish export trade, Uganda fish export earnings in 2005 hit $142 million, up from $103 million in 2004. The fish now reaches almost all parts of the world, including the European Union, Japan, Australia, South America, USA, Cuba, and Canada, to mention a few. Sechimpi Richard, a fishmonger, says restrictions on fishing on the lake have enabled the fish business to boom.
Ekyennyanja kirungi kuba kikola ssente. Ekyennyanja ng'omanyi kibala kikolera ddala ssente. Kuba osobola okugula omugeto nga gwa mitwalo 5 n'ogutundu 6 oba 6. Kitegeeza Katonda wakuyamba olunaku n'otunda emigete emwavu 3. Osobola okuba ng'otissaawo akasente ne weerabirira ne okola n'emikaabo by'essente.
Fish business is seasonal, which regulates the prices as well, says a fishmonger who has been in this business for a decade.
Sinze ennaku zino abantu sente entono ageri ke batwala abaana mu masomero naye era ne baba nga tebatwala abaana mu masomero era si be bali awo gamba sente entono eno sayizi gyolaba nkisobedde 3,3 naye kati eri agamba ayagala ya 2,5 olusolo n'agaana n'omuwa 3,3 mulyako ekitonotono.
With more scientific research done on fisheries, there are conditions that still remain to choke the lake, thereby depriving regeneration of the endemic fish species. Human activity involving poor sanitation practices around the lake have also been blamed for the disappearing fish species in the lake. Susan Nandudu from Deniva, Uganda, says that there is need for protecting the environment.
We need to focus more on protecting the environment. There is the challenge of creating awareness, but the people have no option. It's common knowledge for people to tell you what can we do, and they do not have a toilet and they are happy to use a plastic bag and they throw the waste anywhere. This for me calls for working together to ensure that the policies are implemented, to ensure that there is wide public awareness, but beyond the awareness, to ensure that key actions are implemented. Where we have wetlands, let us respect the wetlands. Let us plant trees. Let us protect our water for today and tomorrow.
Climate change effects have not spared the lake and aquatic systems either. Fishing communities are impoverished and ill-prepared to adapt to the negative impacts of climate change that include disturbances in fish fertility cycles, increased mortality among young fish due to rising water temperatures, particularly in lagoons and rivers, effects of strong salinity in the water breeding areas and frequent fish migration into deeper waters could be reasons why there are reduced fish species in Lake Victoria. Adaptation and mitigation strategies employed in fisheries include fish farming as a control process for reducing stress on the lakes and also as an alternative fishery option to supply food for the growing population and restoring the diminishing carp and lungfish species. Jamil Kinji from Rakai explains the benefits of fish farming.
A lot of wetlands are seen inland, and with great potential to go even throughout the year without drying, but they are not tapped. You find these same communities go and struggle for a very small learning side, and their youth, they can do other things. And now with the style of fish farming they are being encouraged to do is a type of fish pond you do on the side as you do other activities. Like for that beaver Montuyo group, they are doing aquaculture, but also veggies and what, instead of encroaching on deeper to the wetland, they use the banks as they scoop the soils from covering the pond. Heaps for raising their income, but also doing the work in intervals as they do other casual jobs. So it gives them room to earn revenue with not perpetually being there 24/7. They can do other activities. And it reduces stress. If they do it inland, it means it will reduce on the number of boats, but also it will create alternative sources of income to these fishermen.